From Inkwell, this is the Daily Best of for Monday, July 20th. I'm Kelly with Haste. The biggest stories of the day, what held, what moved. We start with the active conflict. The United States launched its 10th consecutive night of strikes against Iran overnight. Explosions were reported in Bandar Abbas, Keshm Island, Chabahar, and Konarak. Separately, Tehran launched attacks on Kuwait.
10 nights is no longer an escalation. It's a sustained campaign. The coverage keeps using the word strikes in the plural, but the geographic spread here, 4 named locations in a single night, is worth holding in your head as you follow this.
On the same conflict's periphery, Médecins Sans Frontières is demanding Israel release detained Palestinian healthcare workers in Gaza. MSF described its position as outraged and warned that silence has become complicity.
The structural point the coverage tends to skip. Detaining healthcare workers is a violation of protections under international humanitarian law, regardless of the military rationale offered. MSF naming it publicly is the news. The specific number of workers detained and the stated Israeli justification are the facts still missing from most of the reporting.
Staying in conflict-adjacent politics. Ukraine. Protests are growing in Kyiv and other cities over President Zelensky's decision to dismiss the country's defense minister. The demonstrations reflect broader anger over how personnel decisions at the top of the defense structure are being made during an active war.
The press has framed this as a political crisis for Zelensky personally. The structural fact underneath it is different. Firing a defense minister mid-war creates institutional uncertainty at exactly the command layer that coordinates with NATO partners. That's the story the political drama framing tends to bury.
In the United Kingdom, a suspect has been charged in the fatal attack on politician Anne Widdecombe, affiliated with Reform UK. Police say a possible political motive is under investigation.
The political motive designation matters because it changes how the investigation is classified and resourced. What's not yet on the record: the identity of the suspect and any confirmed connection to Widdecombe's political work.
Before we close, ground news, not more headlines. How the press ignored, softened, or twisted the structure of today's biggest stories to fit the narrative they already had.
On the record beat, is Starl Idbam. What the media did. Headlines led with the leaked fury. Trump called Bibi crazy, steamrolled him, prison without Trump, etc. The on-record sequence, Trump's own productive post, Netanyahu's public contradiction, then leak-based outrage, was rarely walked as one timeline. It inverted the usual ground news fracture instead of bury eye.
Why it matters? You cannot evaluate the relationship from the leak alone. Trump said productive and ceasefire on his account. Netanyahu said unchanged and Beirut on his. The press sold the background quote as the story and dissolved the public split between the two men who actually posted that.
On the record beat, Iran/family. What the media did. The dominant frame was family drama. Father misses son's wedding. Love of the United States. Fake news trap. The Iran MOU post ran as a separate foreign policy story. Few pieces tied staying in D.C. explicitly to finalizing a war-ending memorandum the president himself said was days from completion.
Why it matters. When a president says he cannot leave Washington because of Iran during the weekend, he announces a largely negotiated peace deal. That is, operational context, not a human interest sidebar. The press gave you the wedding. It dissolved the war.
Same pattern as the Lusitania warnings Germany paid to place in American newspapers. The papers chose not to run them, and people died who might have lived. When the press buries the structural fact, the audience does not get a second chance at the truth that night.
Today in history. On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. But the story that matters here isn't the landing itself. It's what the New York Times almost missed. Their night editor nearly buried the lead, uncertain whether the moment was real enough to stop the presses.
The Times ran it front page, but smaller papers hesitated. Some editors thought the wire reports were hoax-prone. That delay, however brief, showed how institutional caution, even doubt in the credibility of the moment, shaped what Americans actually learned and when.
It's a reminder. The first draft of history depends on editors deciding what's true enough to print. Get that decision wrong, and reality itself stays in shadow. That's the Daily Best of for Monday, July 20th, 2026. Full archive at inkwell.wiki/news. Ground news lives at inkwell.wiki/groundnews.
Independent news drops resume tomorrow, 6 a.m., 2 p.m., and 10 p.m. Central. From Inkwell, good night.